Welcome back to Just the Tip. Thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate your listenership. So this week, I would call it trash TV. Ishea doesn't think so. It's a train wreck that I can't take my eyes away from. It's distracting me from my exercises. We're talking about Love is Blind on Netflix.
Can we also tell everyone how you wanted to start this episode? The real way you wanted to start this episode?
What was the real way I wanted to say?
What you just said literally 30 seconds ago.
Oh, yeah. Every episode, before I say, welcome back to Just the Tip, this is Mike and Ishea, me and Ishea have about 10 to 15 minutes of arguing about how to start the episode. And that definitely happened right now.
Yeah, it actually does. And we've been trying to figure out ways where you can push through the annoyance to actually record. And usually we're pretty good about it because we both tend to let things go relatively quickly in comparison to how much of a death grip on anger and rage some people can have. But yeah, it's almost
every episode.
So
just know that.
We've recorded over 20.
Yeah, and we usually redo the first 5 minutes of every episode a couple times until we're just beat down into submission and like, you better not stop.
We've had a few times where we've had to stop recording though and just come back the next day.
Yeah. Okay, so this show, Love is Blind. All right, so if you've seen it, you know. But
everyone should be watching this. I told y'all to watch this in real life and on Instagram weeks ago. Well, at least a week and a half.
All right. So it's like the Real World meets The Circle meets The Bachelorette.
Okay. So for anyone, Mike doesn't watch any of those fucking shows. So I just want to say what it actually is like is 90 Day Fiance meets Married at First Sight meets Netflix The Circle. So
you've got a House of Men. It's a very like gender normative, heteronormative show. You got a House of Men, House of Women. They can only interact with each other through these pods, so they can't see each other. So it's all about, can people form relationships by just talking to each other? No visuals, no pictures, nothing.
They also don't have their phones. They don't have any access to media, so no distractions.
No outside influence.
Just alcohol.
Just lots of alcohol. So the first day they do like a speed dating round where everyone talks to everyone. And then after that, it's more like upon request. So then they kind of date in the pods with various people. And after a couple days, you start having people dropping the L bombs.
What's the L bomb?
That's the love. That's the love word.
Okay. And then next?
And then we've got some engagements that happen.
Do people have to get engaged?
You do not have to get engaged, but there were a total of, I think the show follows about 6 or 7 couples that actually got engaged in the pods. They propose in the pod. Then they get to meet the next day in person. Then all these couples that got engaged, they go to Mexico for like a week or something to hang out, have a little more drama.
That was the first time. They also get to see everyone else. So
then they get to see everyone else.
At this point, they had only seen the person they chose in real life.
And mind you, there were some love triangles.
Yeah, there were some. Okay, so keep going. So now they're in Mexico all together.
They're all in Mexico together, getting hot and steamy. Then they go back to their homes where they're supposed to live together, quote unquote, live together before their wedding.
But they're also living in an apartment complex all together as well.
Quote unquote, living in an apartment complex all together. But I've got my own thoughts on all that whole shenanigan.
Okay, so keep going.
Well, that's where we're at. And then the season finale airs this Thursday.
So they've also been able to meet each other's families.
Oh, they had to. Yeah,
so they've been able
to meet each other's families.
Okay. So there's that level, that dynamic. And where we are right now is they've done wedding dress shopping, suit shopping. Friends and families have kind of met. And we are at the cliffhanger where they are having their weddings. And at the actual wedding is where they're deciding at the end of the aisle, because obviously it's TV for drama, they're deciding if they will take each other.
Yeah. So not everyone is like, yes, they proposed, but not everyone is 100% going to say yes. And so the cliffhanger is who's going to say yes and who's going to say no.
So with that being said, Mike has laid the groundwork for what this show is about. This is our warning that we are about to give spoilers.
Spoiler alert.
You want to do it one more time?
Spoiler alert.
Okay, so we are going to get into this. Let's start with Diamond and Carlton because they are the one couple that did get engaged, but they did not last. They were immediately done. What do you think about them?
Diamond and Carlton. Carlton.
I learned a new word because of Carlton, not because of him, but because of the situation when I was reading about it online. Biphobic. Because I kept saying this feels like a very homophobic situation, but that was the wrong word. It was biphobic. So
Yeah. So Carlton is bi, and he doesn't even admit it to himself.
Episode 3.
He describes it as, in my past, I at one time dated both genders. I mean, he's really just skirting away from he's probably just bi, and he doesn't even admit it to himself.
He also is the kid of pastor.
He is
Pastors
he
or a pastor.
Probably comes from a community that does not support that lifestyle. So he doesn't even really admit to himself
He's a black
he
man.
is. Yeah.
He's in Atlanta.
Mm-hmm. So he's not even able to fully admit to himself. So of course he doesn't tell. He proposes to Diamond, and she doesn't know that's his orientation. And he tells her in Mexico, and they have it's an interesting display of how to communicate with someone.
It wasn't interesting. It was some typical ghetto ass shit that it was just like ridiculous. Any argument you've ever had with someone that's a narcissist and will insert, that's why I don't fuck with bitches like you. If you've ever known anyone who would actually say to you in an argument, that's why I don't fuck with bitches like you, it was that type of situation.
Yeah, he kind of self-destructed. I think
it was horrible.
The whole point of this show is that it gives you a chance to just air out everything about yourself, so that
show up as your authentic self.
Yeah, so that someone could fall in love with you just as you are without any outside influence. And he withheld like an integral part of his life. And when he told her, she was shooketh, but she was minorly shooketh, and she didn't make him feel bad. She was shocked. She just kind of felt betrayed because
he lied.
Because he didn't tell her up front, and this is like the one time that you should just tell someone up front like who you are on this kind of a show. So she handled it decently well, but
she needed a night to sleep on it.
She needed a night to sleep on it.
He had already gotten upset and thrown his hat back there, getting frustrated. It was frustrating to me to watch that scene because I felt as though he has the way that it's been portrayed on TV. He seems to have this really deep level of self-hatred for a part of himself that he should really not feel shame around. But I understand that he is a black man in America, living in the South and dealing with all of those things. So I can understand the place that it came from, but I still think it was an absolutely terrible way to go about it. And to watch him become a narcissist and then shut down and the way that he like reacted, ridiculous.
He self-destructed when she didn't like rejoice with joy at the news.
I think it wasn't that she didn't rejoice at the news. It's those people that have attitudes of, I lied, but now I'm choosing to be honest and you're acting in a way that's X. Getting upset at you for, I think he thought that she was bothered by the fact of his sexuality, his bisexuality, when in reality it's, you lied to me and I have to process the fact that you're a liar. For whatever your reasons are, and I don't even get to process the fact that, one, you're giving me new information, but also you lied about it, and I didn't get to know you through a pod.
And the best part is, as they like throw their rings away or whatever.
Well, she threw her. Well, she took her ring off.
Oh, and then he threw it.
He threw it in the pool, and I was thinking, is that ring real? Like, did they give them? Did production? Anyone at Netflix know? Are those rings real?
Some production assistant
dove
into the bottom of the pool with goggles and found it.
For sure.
She quoted Beyonce as she was walking away after he threw the ring into the pool.
Yeah, you ain't married to no average bitch, boy. Watch this fat ass something to the next dick, boy. And I was like, yes, Beyonce lyrics, which women do quote.
So they made it like 4 days.
Being engaged?
Yeah.
Oh, but I don't even know. It was ridiculous.
It was a good lesson it was a good lesson to see someone feel shame about who they are and then self-destruct.
Well, and we just watched that argument saying, oh my God, you're handling this all wrong.
Yeah.
This is all wrong. So really cool tidbit is an author who I love following online, Demetria Lucas. She discovered this show a couple of days ago and has been binge watching. And she actually posted on Instagram about the show, and she was sharing her thoughts on the scene with Carlton and Diamond, and Carlton actually DM'd her, and they ended up having a phone call, and it was off the record, but he agreed that she could share her overall sentiments with how it went, and she did. So go follow her. Obviously, I mean, like, everyone should be following her, but go and follow her at Demetria Lucas on Instagram or Facebook, and you can see her comments. How fucking cool that she talked to him and like he told her his version. It just shows you how, like, in the day and age we're living in, we're watching something that we're all streaming, we're having this current conversation, and someone is able to then go and reach out to these people who are on the show and chat with them.
Oh, we're all connected, man.
Yeah. Okay, so they're out of here. Bye, Diamond. As she left, he was like, that's why your wig has been slipping the whole show. And I'm like, one, I had been thinking about her wig the whole show too, as in also. But I thought, like, how shitty of a thing to... that's like when you break up with someone and then you tell them they're not shit, and then they're like, yeah, but like you chose me. So anyway.
Yeah, it was just a full self-destruct.
Oh yeah, he's kind of the worst. The part that I also have to, before we leave him saying, I've never had this problem with any other woman before. This is just you.
Yeah, that's, I mean, that
the
was
level of
just
shame
bullshit.
you feel around, why were you lying about yourself?
Yeah, if it's never been a problem, then you wouldn't have hidden it from yourself even.
Yeah, okay. Okay, next up, Kenny and Kelly. I'm going to start with them because they're kind of the most boring.
Yeah, I mean...
So
they're just like 2 scoops of vanilla ice cream.
Yeah, that's actually that's the perfect way to describe them. Kenny and Kelly are 2 scoops of vanilla ice cream. What else?
Which, on the surface, everything seems real nice.
They seem like the safe couple that really is into each other and is gonna win, but they haven't had sex, but they're openly talking about it. The first red flag was when the guys were together and after they got to Mexico, and the fellas were asking Kenny, you know, they're all bragging or, talking about who's been fucking who.
Mm-hmm.
And then they asked Kenny, and we already know that Kelly has said they're not sleeping together. And he said, well, I'm not going to say anything, but I couldn't go for my run this morning.
Yeah,
what?
What does having sex the night before have to do with running in the morning?
I mean, it's also you weren't having sex, so I think you're just saying something so you don't have to talk about it with these guys you've known for 3 weeks. What about them though? They're not, they seem like the safe couple. However, a couple episodes ago, we find out that, they're not having sex because it turns out Kelly said that she has an issue orgasming, which if you look at the stats, I think it's like maybe 2/3 or something of women don't have orgasm. Like there's a lot of, this is a common thing that some women don't have orgasms. But then she goes into talking about how she's not, doesn't really date men that look like him. He's not necessarily her type. So then it turns into, for me, are you just not physically attracted to him, or do you not want to fuck him? Or like I don't know what it is.
Yeah, and she alluded to having strong best friend vibes from him.
Yeah, that's like not good to say with 4 weeks in.
Yeah, so I really think it's an attraction thing. She's probably just not attracted to him.
I don't think they're going to get married. Their families are too cute. It seems like it should work, but it's not.
And there's a theme with this show of these, mind you, everyone in the show is beautiful. So yeah, they couldn't see each other, but they could probably look around to the other. If you're a guy, they'd see all the other guys and they'd say, oh, these are all like really attractive men. The women are probably looking at the women and saying, oh, these are all attractive women. Everyone in the show is a beautiful person, kind of classically, like what conventionally.
Instead of calling them classically beautiful people, you could say that they were cast for this high budget show, and they look like they all have headshots.
Yeah.
If you want to see real people, watch 90 Day Fiancé.
Yeah, these are not real people. So you would think like, okay, if they fall in love just by talking, and everyone's a pretty person, then attraction isn't going to be a big deal. But there's a real common theme of attraction is a huge issue with a lot of these couples. So I think Kenny and Kelly, I don't think she's attracted to him. She wants to be there. They got best friend vibes going on.
I don't think attraction is like a problem for them, for all of the contestants. I think that picking the wrong person is the problem that a lot of them have. So they're trying to step outside of and get out of their own way by being in an environment where they can really just focus on getting to know someone. I don't think that any of them have problems being, finding someone that they think looks good. They were trying to push past that.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is love is not blind, because
love is not blind.
Love is not blind because there's a theme where a lot of these couples aren't working out because one of them turns out isn't attracted to the other.
Oh, yeah, I got what you're saying. Okay, I didn't follow. So Kenny and Kelly, they're done. We got it. Let's go to Giannina and Damian.
So Giannina and Damian.
Front one, he can barely say her name. If you all are watching this, go back and watch when he proposes to her and he tries to say her full name. She's Venezuelan. It's fucking hilarious. And every time he says her full name, I feel bad. And I see her cringe a little bit too. But she's a stranger still. They've known each other 4 weeks now.
So the reason we're talking about this show is because...
It's good. Sorry.
The reason I'm talking about it is because my communication improved after watching these couples. And Giannina and Damian was one of them.
The scene when they were on the boat?
They had an argument. It started to escalate. They started to do that little loop of, well, you said this, well, you said this. And then you kind of get in that circular logic where you're just arguing about the same thing over and over again. They got into one of those.
What's that?
I call it a loop. and then they got back to their hotel room, and Damian actually kind of broke down and got honest about why he was upset. And he said that he might have lost his job for coming to the show, and he felt like he wasn't going to be a provider for her. And that was really got down to the core of what was bothering him. And it really helped me to see that. And it just was a good reminder to be as honest with you can with yourself, so that you can be honest as you can with your partner, so that you can put yourself in a position where either you or your partner can actually help how you're feeling.
Yeah, give them all the information they need so that they can most beneficially be there for you.
Yeah, but like peel back those layers and get to the actual root cause and the most, and that deep, whatever that shame or deep-seated feeling is that's kind of hidden away from yourself or others, like to get that out and share that with your partner is going to be the best path forward. And it's helped me and Ishea out recently with several very difficult conversations. So that's why I'm actually like really gung-ho about talking about the show, because I actually learned something.
Yeah, I think that the two arguments that impacted me and that I actually could immediately take away something from were Diamond and Carlton by the pool, and then Giannina and Damian on the boat. And basically they were enjoying this honeymoon kind of period in their relationship where they get to be around each other for the first time. They're both physically attracted to one another, so that's not a problem. And he was expressing on the boat how he really wanted to just stay in the moment and kind of expressing how he didn't want to go back to how stressful his life was. And of course, if you're just meeting someone and getting to know them and you're going to marry them off a reality show, when they start telling you how they don't want to go back to their everyday life, of course you're going to ask like, well, what is so stressful about your everyday life? And then he was shutting down. He didn't want to say what it was. And then she's pushing at him because obviously they're strangers arguing, strangers who are attracted to each other. And yeah, so then fast forward, they're back at the hotel, and that's when he is vulnerable. And for me, it was really cool to see him be vulnerable, because I think I saw her immediately shut the fuck up and listen. And you could see her kind of taking it in and them trying to figure out and learn each other.
I was shutting the fuck up and listening.
Okay, thanks, Mike. Okay. So what are your thoughts about them? What do you think?
They're also kind of a hot mess.
Yeah, she has a history of self-sabotaging if things feel too good, which, what? I couldn't imagine being even friends with someone who could do that. I don't know. That feels like red fucking flag.
Yeah. I think they're both kind of, like dumb enough to go through with it. Seeing them, it reminds me of like a relationship that I've been in before. The way that he was like complaining, the things that he was saying and what she was saying, it was just I saw a lot. It looked like a lot of yelling and arguing. And
What's actually funny is when we were watching this, I reminded Mike that actually was his life at one point, and how at first he didn't remember. And I said, that's how fucking good your life is now. You forgot that like this actually happened.
yeah, I had forgotten I was in a whole storyline.
Yeah, Mike was in a storyline before. And what's really cool is because I met Mike, we met through mutual friends, and I met him at this friend's wedding. I kind of like low-key knew about his business before I knew who he was. When you're friends with someone and they just tell you stories about the other people in their life who they assume you won't really ever meet, and then you meet them and you're like, oh my God, I've known your business for at least 2 years. So that was kind of funny. Okay, next couple, Barnett and Amber.
Oh my God.
Amber,
so Barnett,
all you need to know is that she's a military girl who shot down a tanker on her first try, but has never been out the country. So you were never deployed.
she did that somewhere in the woods of North Carolina.
Or in Georgia.
On base.
Yeah,
Yeah.
somewhere.
Somewhere
I mean, no shade to her. Like, thank you for your 8 years of service.
Yeah. I mean, so Barnett came in kind of acting like a frat guy, trying to like do weird sexual flirting
He
with
was a
every
fuckboy.
woman in there.
Fuckboy.
Yeah. And Amber seems like
all she has is sexual currency.
All party.
She's a good time, not a long time. Is that Drake lyric?
I don't know.
Okay.
But I mean, really, I got to get to what it is. Amber doesn't work and doesn't take her finances with any bit of reality and drinks. And Barnett thought he was like, I don't know what he was thinking, but he was playing the field, chose Amber as his prized possession.
He said he chose her because he knew that she would love him in the way he wanted to be loved. And that's because her only desire is to be a stay-at-home mom, but she also is not even an equal partner because she doesn't work. She didn't finish college. She has $30,000 in student loan debt. Or was it 20? $20,000 in student loan debt. She has one credit card with a $700 limit that she uses about $200 for makeup because it takes a lot to keep this looking good. But also, I just left Sephora and $200 does not go that far at all. So I feel for her. You know, it happens. But her dad wasn't there, so she was raised kind of like rough. She had like a rough
She said
upbringing.
she was her own male influence in her life. And it kind of shows. She kind of is her own male influence.
Yeah, you feel for her because you can realize like she wasn't set up for success.
Yeah, I mean, she seems genuinely cray-cray.
And she's fucking crazy. In the pods, she broke down crying, telling Barnett the story about how this guy she thought she'd spend her life with, she got pregnant, he made her get an abortion, and how she could just never make that decision again. And when they're in Mexico, she's bragging about how he's raw dogging her. And I'm like, this is how people are so fucking stupid. This woman has already told, and Barnett's an engineer. He's an AI engineer. I was on, no. That's Cameron. I was on all of their Instagrams today. So this is an example of when a person shows you and tells you who they are and then you proceed to ignore it. She is just waiting to get knocked up so she can collect a check for sure.
Yeah. So they're like, she's just not doing anything. She's planning the wedding.
Super aggressive.
Drinking bottles of wine to herself.
Consistently tells him, you're not going anywhere. I'm here. You got me forever. I'm going to kill you before you leave me.
Yeah, but it's kind of sad in that her only value that she thinks she has is her sexual currency.
She has no other transferable skills.
Yeah, so
he asked her, how often does she work? And she said, as much as I want. Girl, what job is that? I mean, I've never done a shift work, so maybe you can work whenever you want.
Yeah, she's just probably picking up shifts whenever she needs more beer money.
Mike keeps saying that. He just keeps saying she's working for beer money.
It's literally what she's doing. She's not doing anything about her debt. She is not picking up extra shifts. She's just, getting that bottle of wine. And then once that runs out, she's got to go work a shift. so she can buy another one.
What their storyline actually makes me think of is when you are just basing it off of sexual energy, when you have a lot of physical attraction and you have two people who, if they're being honest about the partners that they want, they're really probably not even with the right partner. And to be fair to her, I don't think he's the right partner for her either. I think that she needs to be dating someone who is a young looking 55. Who doesn't have kids and wants her to be the young hot wife. Who she doesn't want to work. She wants a like an expense account. Like she wants money. She wants to be taken care of and she wants to have babies. And that's no judgment. She's kind of presenting who she is. I give her credit for being very forthcoming with her debt and not lying about it and saying, I don't pay any of my debt. I haven't paid any of my student loans. I just ignore them. She
wasn't that forthcoming.
No, she was honest.
Like weeks.
But when they talked about it at the house, she was honest about it.
She was at least honest when they talked about it. Yes.
Didn't you just say the first thing you learned from this show was to be honest?
Well, yeah, but also one of them is to get your deal breakers out up front.
Well, yeah, but I'm saying this is the first time they're spending time together, and I think that they're able to have the conversation when it's relevant. And a lot of people are in whole ass relationships right now, maybe listening to this podcast with people they know, who knows, who are not even talking about their financial situations with people that they are married to or in serious long-term relationships with.
And I really want to make it clear. Debt is not the problem. Debt is not the problem at all. It's just the attitude towards debt.
Yeah.
For me and Ishea at this point in our lives, for us to have debt and to not have a single plan for what you're going to do about it, to us that is very weird now. Some people, maybe they're in a different place. So it's not the debt, it's just the attitude towards it.
Yeah. So they're an interesting couple. His family's not into her. Her family, when he met her family, I love the mom going, "Do you work?" just the nature of asking someone in that way, do you work? It just sets the tone for what kind of family you're marrying into.
Basically, if the answer is yes, then you can marry my daughter.
Yeah.
Like, do you work? Great. Can you take her?
Yeah. Okay, next couple. Mark and Jessica. Holy fucking shit. They're both from Chicago too. It's just
Mark is like a 16-year-old.
He's 24
with a brain of a 16-year-old.
I don't think he's a brain. I mean, I think he has the emotional or the relationship maturity of like a teenage boy in like puppy love.
He's a teenage boy in puppy love, like in love with his the teaching assistant math teacher.
Jessica may be the best thing that happened to this show. I want to call her trash, but I think she's TV gold. Jessica has actually made the show more interesting to watch with her excessive drinking.
She is the train wreck that they hoped for.
Oh yeah, and also a theory that you have is that production talked to her at a certain point after before they were leaving Mexico. Was it when they were already back at the homes? I don't know. She's been drunk and emotionally vomiting on people the whole fucking series. But there was a certain point where she clicked and it felt like, oh, she's playing ball.
Yeah. It was at the end of Mexico, she came out and finally said, I'm not attracted to Mark. So Jessica, to give you some background,
34,
wanted Barnett and wanted Mark.
Yes.
Barnett said that he might propose to her. So Jessica told Mark that
he didn't say might. He was like, I'm gonna way I feel right now. Yeah. That was an episode where you went and walked Khaleesi, and when you came back in, I told you what happened.
Okay. So Jessica thinks that Barnett is going to propose to her. So the next time in the pod, she tells Mark that she's not going to be into him anymore.
Yeah, broke up with him.
The next day, Barnett is like, no, I don't feel that way anymore. So then Jessica goes back to Mark.
First, she was hella shocked.
This is lesson number 1 for Mark. If someone leaves you and they come back, they let them stay gone.
He actually said on the show, if you love something and let it go and it comes back to you, it was like meant for you or something. No, that shit can stay gone.
Yeah.
Bye.
Yeah, because he knew she was leaving him for another guy.
Yeah.
For Barnett.
Because she said it.
Yeah. So if someone leaves you for another person, let them find someone else.
I actually was rooting for him the moment he said, I know my worth. and then he proceeded to not know his worth.
He does not at all.
But then I remember he's 24.
He seems like he would be such a good friend.
Yeah, his friends, like when he lives with his roommate and his roommate's girlfriend, they do seem like great friends.
Yeah, he's like he seems like just a good guy to have around. He's gonna bring his guitar.
Oh yeah, he did bring his guitar.
He's gonna play and sing you Wonderwall. Like he's gonna be good to have around, but he just does not know his self-worth and has hitched his trailer to this train.
I think he's excited about I think he's excited about a woman from his hometown who is older and has her life together and who he genuinely connected with in this experience, and who he was really under the impression that she was connecting with him too. I think that a lot of people don't know how to handle getting discarded then brought back. People do this to people all the time, and I think it's very manipulative and very mean, and it sucks to see. And I hope out of all of the people who have participated in this show, I hope that Jessica and Mark, seeing themselves play out, I hope his self-esteem and his self-worth goes up. And I hope that she gets a little of her shit together. She's 34. Her last relationship was with a 41-year-old. Yet on the show, she keeps saying, I've never talked about feelings with men like this. The fuck are you talking to them about? What is a 34-year-old and a 41-year-old in a long-term relationship talking about?
So the drama with all of this is that she's in love with Barnett the entirety of the show.
She feels entitled to Barnett.
Every chance she gets when they're in group settings, she sneaks away and reminds Barnett about how he broke her heart in the pod.
And how she
it
can't
happens
understand how he's with Amber.
And over again.
It's painful.
It's painful to watch the first time, but then it just keeps happening, and she keeps drinking more and keeps doing it.
Oh yeah, she's like blackout drunk in some episodes.
But then with the whole Mexico, they left Mexico. She came out and just finally told Mark that she's not attracted to him. But then they continue following them as a couple through the next phase of the show, because I think the producers were like, "This is good TV. You guys have to like stick this out." But they're not going to get married.
But what's actually funny is when they're back in Atlanta, she's so emotionally shut down from him that he recreates a date night where they mimic being in pods again, where he's eating dinner in the bedroom and she's eating dinner on the other side of the wall in the living room. Dude, my dude, if you have to go away from this woman who you met when you were in pods to like get her, he's doing too much. She's not interested. And it really, it's sad to see someone mistreat someone's feelings and to see another person just lap it up. Like just.
Yeah, it looks like she's totally manipulating him though, because she does say like, come here, babe. Like she
gets sloppy drunk, and when she feels rejected by Barnett, then she goes back over.
Yeah, and gets like Mark's love that he will just give out.
I mean, he's 24. There's 24-year-olds and there are 24-year-olds we know making poor decisions or on the fence of making poor decisions right now.
They're a TV couple at this point, though. I mean, a lot of these people are, but they're not going to get married. Okay, I'm calling that.
Our favorite couple, I'm saving them for last, and they are Lauren and Cameron.
I joked that they were us.
They are us.
At the beginning when they were in love.
Well, yeah, when they were in love in the beginning, we joked that they were us.
Yeah, because like Lauren's popping. She's a content creator. That's her, quote unquote.
When they went to her apartment, I was like thinking to myself, is this me? Because she pulled out her like little vision board and I put mine up in our bedroom too. That was funny. So yeah.
And he's just this like cool as a cucumber, calm, chilled out guy.
He always is touching her, and that reminds me of how you are with me. The way that he feels for her, I think, is like was the energy I had from you.
Yeah, no, like
she's disinterested now, which kind of sucks.
So she came off really hot on him.
She said, "I love you." She kind of like shot her shot.
Second or third day, in the pod, she tells him that she loves him, and this guy, you can kind of tell, like
you called him a nerd with a beard. We figured out when his friends came on the episode. Oh, he's a nerd. He's like an attractive nerd.
Yeah.
And you called him a nerd with a beard.
He's a tall, big-bodied, attractive nerd. And so, but he didn't know what she looked like. He didn't know she was popping. But she told him she loved him. The next day he proposes to her.
I bet she saw his friends and was like, oh, you're like a fucking nerd.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
And then they looked like they were just lapping it up in Mexico. But then the second they got home, I could tell Lauren just lost all interest in him.
Well, think about this. Maybe it's not that she lost interest in him. She has said that she has issues sharing space and getting kind of scared about that. So it could just be that the reality of her area where she has not grown, she was confronted with it. He has this home that he is ready to put her in creative, like he's ready. So he
said he wants to like put babies in her right now.
Yeah, like he seems to be saying he's ready. And so I think that it kind of presents is it a conundrum when you ask for something and you get it and then you're like, oh fuck, is that what I actually wanted?
I don't know if that's necessarily a conundrum.
Yeah, maybe it's not.
So, I mean, they looked like they were just destined for greatness, but she's really pulling back now on the episode before the wedding. So I think they're going to get to the altar and I think she's going to back out.
Yeah, I think the only couple that's going to actually get married are Giannina and Damian. This is why. They are the only couple, when I critically analyze this show, they are the only couple who have so far pushed each other's boundaries and both tried to find a way to navigate and talk about it in conflict resolution. Like no one else is either being authentic and having the conflict come up. They're either avoiding the conflict and kind of smooth over it and avoid it, or they just don't fuck with each other anyway, and it's just ridiculous. So with them, if you notice, they have a little intensity and passion, but they seem to be pushing each other's buttons, but I don't think it's intentional. I think it's learning a person. Everything's cool until it's fucking not when you're with a stranger. And we've been together now 4 years and we still have things that we have to go through to learn that, oh, this is a thing that we now will learn from. Fuck y'all. I think they're going to get married. Mike's looking at me like I'm crazy. I think Giannina and Damian are going to be the only couple to get married. Let me know what you actually think in the comments and why. Which couple are you rooting for? I'm rooting for Lauren and Cameron just because they remind me of Mike and I, but I actually think Giannina and Damian.
Yeah, I don't think anyone's going to get married, and I do agree. Maybe Giannina and Damian, maybe at best.
And you think that the girl that was running and fell down was Jessica?
Yes. On record, I'm saying that if you get the little teaser on Netflix, you see a bride running away in a white dress, and then you see her slip, and you hear and it sounded like Jessica's voice to me.
I know this isn't going to be a popular opinion, but I think it could be Kelly. I think editing.
No, isn't she like a marathon runner?
Anyone can.
She's
fall.
like a fitness. No, but she like does fitness for her job. She's a health coach. She's not going to slip.
Okay, I'm just saying that
it's the alcoholic that slips.
It could
let's be real.
But it could be editing with her voice and someone else falling. We don't know.
Yeah, we'll see.
I think it's her, but I would like to think that they did a little bit more of a teaser than making it that obvious.
Well, no, I just picked up on it. I could hear it.
Okay.
It's not obvious. I just have super bad ears.
What other things did you learn from the show?
Well, okay, so you got to be honest with yourself, be honest with your partner, get down to the root of what's bothering you, like the root, like way back down in there.
So how do you do that?
Well, okay, so what's helped me is
what's helped you?
What's helped me is sometimes I'll have to just strip away, like I'll have to say, okay, I'm going to say something it might sound really dumb. Like I'll be telling Aisha, like, okay, this might sound really dumb. It might not make sense. The logic might not be there, but this is how I'm feeling. And just like vomit out maybe like the weirdest thing that I could think, or like don't worry about shame. Try to get rid of fear and shame and how the person's going to receive it. And just think that if I can be as honest as possible, then that's going to be the best path forward. And that's going to help get us some resolution or get us the next step into what we're going to do is if I can be honest as possible.
And that requires you to do all of that work internally.
You do have to be willing to say it and get it out there. And then you have to have a partner who's going to be willing to listen.
Yeah. So what I learned from the show were two main things. And this is primarily from the arguments that Diamond and Carlton and Giannina and Damian had. So one was patience, which is like the one thing I actually don't have. And the second was space. So for me, it really was watching how when Damian presented himself and actually was stripping away and being vulnerable, I saw Giannina, who is very like fiery and kind of bold and will push your fucking buttons and test them. I saw her immediately be quiet and just listen. And for me, that was interesting to see her listen and how she processed it, and then how they were able to kind of move forward from it. And later that night, when you and I actually were having a serious conversation, I remember, because I had just an hour earlier seen this shit show mess on TV that we're watching this show, I remember thinking, okay, let me just be quiet. And you told me what you needed from me in the moment, but in that conversation. And I remember making an active choice to listen and calm myself and just listen. And so it was having patience and then giving you the space that you needed to get your thoughts out, because you needed that from me. And I felt like it was a breakthrough.
Yeah.
In vulnerability, in honesty, and in how we can face these really challenging conversations head on.
Mm-hmm. Another thing,
you're just so dismissive of this profound moment I just had. You said, Another thing that I thought, Mike.
Sorry.
Do you have any other thoughts about?
We've done so much talking about this just between us.
Yeah, we have talked about it.
At this point, I'm like,
okay, but like, I'm trying not to say like as much. Okay, so can you add some comments on what you think about what I just said, other than going into the next thing that you learned?
But it ties in so well.
Okay, go ahead.
No, I was going to say that it requires work. It requires stepping into a space of being uncomfortable. And a lot of these people on this show keep talking about the perfect partner or the perfect relationship that they thought they could always have. But relationships aren't perfect, and they require work, and they require that you step into uncomfortable space within your own body and within the relationship.
A lot of these people are also in their 20s and have had varying degrees of serious relationships. And the fact that, what was her name? The fact that Jessica said that she's never talked to men about feelings and she's 34, it goes to show that there are a lot of people who are in actual situationships, dating, relationships, whatever, with no substance, not actually talking about anything deeper, getting to know someone. And it takes a lot of work and it takes a lot of time. And people don't really want to do any work or wait for any results. They want it now.
Yeah.
What else do you think?
Well, I'm thinking about how we portray ourselves on social media, and how if you listen to the podcast, you would think we're this like highly evolved couple. We are, but it's like, don't worry. We argue for 15 minutes before every episode. So like, yeah, we are like, I'd say we're doing amazing, and we've built a really strong foundation, but we still have to step into space that feels uncomfortable and have disagreements.
I've ushered you into the new wave of being able to sit in the discomfort of feelings and the reality of things. I think you've gained that, and maybe 4 years in, it doesn't feel as. I think that hindsight is you're looking through it with like, what is it called, rose tinted lenses, because I feel like I did have to drag you a little bit.
Oh, for sure.
Okay.
100%.
Yeah. So we've just learned a lot from this show. And with Mike saying about how we have arguments and how we portray ourselves, the moments that I choose to share are pretty fun. And I like, I'm someone who I think that the general gist of our relationship is very functional. It's very healthy. It's one in which we have chosen each other, and every day we wake up and choose to do the work for each other. But we literally had an argument earlier today.
Yeah.
We recorded an Instagram like video, and in the video we mentioned a topic, then actually realized that we maybe needed to talk about it a little more. And as we were talking about it a little more, I filmed another video that was like, I think we're still not on the same page. And then we had a really long, after we were done, it sparked us having this longer conversation that did include some tears, and we have clarity. And I think it was healthy. And it's interesting how we were talking about the show, filming an Instagram video about the show, then filmed another video, and then had a longer conversation. And it took this, connect the dots to get to the progress.
Yeah, progress isn't always a straight line.
No, it's not always a straight line. And I think that it's important that even though Mike is calling this trash TV, there are things that can be learned from different forms of entertainment.
Yeah, I mean, watching some of the unhealthy interactions helped me.
Yeah.
Because it really made me to be able to recognize how these interactions were unhealthy is a big step. And then it's like a good reminder of like, oh, I don't want to be in that kind of relationship. I don't want to communicate in that kind of way. I don't want to do that ever again. Because I know I've communicated like some of these people are communicating.
Which, does anything stand out when you think of that you've done, that you know for a fact you've done?
Oh, I mean, I'm sure I've got a little bit of all of them in me.
Okay.
I mean, at some point, if we're going to go all the way back to 18, I'm sure I've done it all.
Yeah.
Self-destructed, shame, guilt, manipulation,
Ooh, the smile on your face right now. So the finale of the show is going to be this Thursday, but it's at 12:01 a.m. The episodes are available. So technically it's Wednesday night going into Thursday morning. But let us know on Instagram or on Facebook. Find us at Your Fave Podcast, and let us know who you all think is going to actually get married, who you think is trash. I talked to a girlfriend earlier today, and she thinks Jessica is the actual worst. So that's kind of funny. Also, these are real people, and I started looking at them on Instagram, and I kind of think that like clearly they're actors, or they're all involved in the entertainment industry to some extent. Mark had been on the list of like the top attractive people in the city of Atlanta or something I saw. So they all have these interesting layers about who they are outside of just the show, which I think is interesting. So obviously this commentary we have is based on them as cast members of a show. Okay.
Yeah. We're talking about their characters that they're playing.
Yeah, on the show.
Yeah, like I'm not going to pretend like these are actual real people.
They are real people, but we don't know that this is a sliver of who they're presenting on a reality TV show where you signed up knowing that you could potentially get married to someone.
How are people going to tell us they're people again? How are people going to communicate with us? Facebook?
How are people going to tell us they're people?
How are the listeners going to interact with us?
At Your Fave Podcast on Instagram and on Facebook.
Okay,
What's funny is I just said that, but I think because you were talking to yourself in your own head, because you have that voice in your head.
Yes.
Like everyone, except for the people who don't.
Yeah. Who someone messaged me.
What'd they say?
I'm not going to say who it was, but they said they don't have the inner voice.
Really?
Yeah.
What did they say about it? Like, what is their thought process like? Did they share?
No, I asked, but
they didn't want to tell you.
No inner voice. Yeah.
That's interesting.
I know. Thank you for sharing that with me, person who did.
Oh, also, you did tell a few friends that if they come to you for advice, you wanted to make sure they knew you talk about it on the podcast.
Yeah. I'll anonymize you. I will not say who you are, but if you ask me for advice and it seems interesting, I might talk about it on here.
I'm going to end this episode on a positive note. After our wedding venue canceled on us and then hustled us to not give us back basically the deposit we had paid, we have a new wedding venue and we have a refund.
Yeah. And Megan found it.
Yeah. Thank you, Megan, my future sister-in-law.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. And also, well, never mind. I was going to say something else, but I can just text her. That's therapy. Therapy is when you're like, oh yeah, I don't have to do this I don't have to do performative
Okay,
stuff.
but this week you were on NPR.
Oh, yes. I was on NPR News. Really, the Seattle affiliate is KUOW. And I was talking about something that wasn't about race, which is very exciting. I think it's fun for Black people and other marginalized people of color, whatever, to be able to talk about topics that are just general topics that everyone can relate to. So I was on there when we were talking about how to be an ethical transplant in Seattle. So I will include a link to that in the show notes. And the biggest news is that after months and months and months of urging, we finally just went ahead and created Mike's dad an Instagram account. And he's a boat captain. He's a pilot. He travels.
And now he's an Insta thought.
And now he's on his way to be an Instagram thought. So follow him at The Real Captain Couch. He's actually a boat captain. So it's not like fake.
You know what's crazy? At this point, his content is more poppin' than mine.
Well, he posts his photos. Also, we told him how to post his poetry, so he's been doing that. He said he needed millennial lessons.
Yeah.
Which is kind of funny. But yeah, so follow us at Your Fave Podcast. Follow him at The Real Captain Couch. Mike doesn't check social media, so don't even check for him.
Yeah, honestly, yeah. I was asking for real when I was asking how are people going to talk to us.
You're like, I don't even know.
I was actually asking.
Yeah, that's funny. But yeah, so this is what's on our minds this week. It's relationships, communication, and who the fuck is going to get married on Netflix.
Love is not blind.
On Netflix, Love is blind.
Turns out attraction matters.
Who would have thunk?
Yeah. Okay, bye.
Thanks for listening.